Hi, and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Anika, and I'm your host today. Thank you so much for being here for another day of our weekly creative challenge here with Adobe Illustrator. I'm excited to dive into everything we have in store for you. Today, we're making sketch to vectors in Adobe Illustrator using the pen tool, the curvature pen tool, and maybe some of image trace as well. We'll dive into all the fun stuff, and then we're going to use generative recolor to make color variations to fit your brand. Now, I think it's a really fun way to get into it, but before we get into it, let me show you how the starter file looks like. If you go in the description down below of this video, you will be able to find the starter file. Either work along with me, watch the replay as many times as you want on the YouTube channel, or do it in your own time. I would love to see what you create. If you post it in a Discord, share your work with me while you're done watching this video. Let's get started. Let's dive into what we have in store for you today. So this is my screen. This is right on top of me is our challenge, sketch to illustration. Create illustrations for your brand by converting sketches to vectors using pen tool and simple shapes, and experiment with color variations using generative recolor. Now I'm really excited. This is the sketches, and I made these in Adobe Fresco. I'm really excited to dive into it. But over here, if you see, the further reading shows you something about generative recolor that I want to talk about. Here's generative recolor, and if you want to learn more about it, you can go on this page, copy paste the link in the browser, and you will be able to learn more about it. But I'm not going to dive into it because you have the starter file. You can do so in your own time. Let's go to sketches. Now, if you join me on day one, I think it was really fun and interesting to create a retro slash vintage logo. But today we're diving deep into sketches. So there are multiple ways to achieve vectors out of these sketches, but I'm just going to use simple shapes. Everything that you see on my screen, there's a cursor, and all the keyboard shortcuts are here on the top. So in case this is too fast for you, I've made it accessible so you can actually pause and like go back and see what were the shortcuts that I pressed on my keyboard. All right, why don't we get started and start with this little thing here. I just made like fun flower patterns because mine is a floral brand. Yours may be different, but in case you just wanted to create a spring pattern, I think this is perfect, seeing we are in April. So I'm pressing P on my keyboard, which is for the pen tool. You can also click over here in the navigation panel. And if your workspace looks slightly different than mine, don't worry, you can go to Window and then go to Workspace and then click on Essentials Classic. And now it looks a little bit different for me, but if you do Window, Workspace, and click on Essentials Classic, we're gonna have the same workspace. So let's do that and let's see how this goes. Pressing P on your keyboard, I'm just gonna make these shapes over here and doing it really quickly and just like matching all these shapes that we have. And these don't need to be perfect because I feel like the imperfections kind of add to the illustration almost, because if I use image trace, which is basically tracing an image, I think it would be really cool to see the result. But I'm gonna press make this like a little bit gray, and I think I want to bring it on top. Let's see where this thing is. It's on the reference layer. I want to bring it to design here, which is the layer where I want design. Right. Okay. And then I think I'm going to start with the easy shapes. And since I'm already on the pen tool, which is P, let's make the spring-like creature over here. And so I'll show you what I did. So if you hold this and then hold shift, it's going to create a straight line. If you go ahead and then hold your mouse and then move it in any direction, this is where you can change the curve of the line or a path that you're making. So that's how you can control it. And that's what I'm doing here. And I'm just like clicking on this point, holding my mouse down and then extending it here. Now this is not perfect, and what I'm making is not perfect right now, but that's where the direct selection tool comes in, because I can go ahead and change how these points go. Pressing A on the keyboard, which is for direct selection right over here, and I can just move these around anywhere I want. So I can like move these handles around just to see how that design looks. Now you may be wondering, what is this? This is not really what I was expecting it to do. That's because this is a fill and not a stroke. So to switch that, I'm going to press Shift X on my keyboard, having the object selected. This is going to convert my fill to a stroke, and that really helps me. Now you can't really see it, but here's the properties panel, and I can change the color of this to something like a darker color, and now you can slightly see how that looks. But I'm going to go ahead and increase the stroke size right over here. It's 1. I'm going to increase that to like 10, for instance. And if you click on the stroke panel, you can change the cap and the corner. I think I want to change the cap to rounded because it just gives like a very welcoming vibe. I'm gonna click A on my keyboard, press A on my keyboard. Who clicks A on the keyboard? And then I'm just gonna go back here and change that. And I feel like that looks really good. I'm gonna bring that back in. I'm gonna twist it around by like I don't know, 180. Yeah, we did a 180 on that. I'm gonna do that and then bring it over here. It's changing the stroke size because I'm scaling the strokes and effects, but that's fine for now. Let's go ahead and make this one because I feel like this is super easy to make. Pressing L on your keyboard and making the shape. Now this time it defaulted to a stroke instead of a fill. Pressing Shift X again, it's gonna make it to a fill instead of a stroke, and I think that is super cool. All right, let's make these shapes again, and now I can use the pen tool again to like bring these in, bringing it here and just making these shapes as you go. And again, they don't need to be perfect, they just need to be what you want them to be. That's a little cliche, but that's fine. Okay. All right, I think this looks good. I'm just gonna press the direct selection to make this work. And once we're done with like a few of these shapes, I think I'm gonna go back to see how the image trace is gonna work on this. All right, let's see. I'm not actually happy with this, so I'm gonna redo that really quickly over here, keeping a check on time. All right. And I think in this case, I actually want to see the sketch. So I'm going to press Shift X just to see the outlines. And that way I can see where I'm drawing. Just a little bit of fun, like a fun technique. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to press this and press Shift X again. And here you have the full shape. And now I can just go ahead, use the direct selection to adjust. Pressing the P pen tool again, pressing here. And then I like to like do this, which really helps me go back to the original points. And this makes it easier on Illustrator as well because you're using the least amount of points that you can in this case. All right, let's use this one. This one is super easy. So why don't we do that here? I'm gonna press L and I'm gonna do that again. So Shift, Option, and L will create something from the center out, and that's gonna give you a very symmetric circle over here. I'm gonna press A on my keyboard and click on this point and delete it, and then I'll press Command J, which will join these 2 points over here. So it's a closed shape, and then I'm gonna rotate it like 45 degrees. Slide it down a little bit, and again, it doesn't need to match the same sizing in the sketch. Sometimes I think what we have to remind ourselves is that sometimes sketches don't really match vectors, so you might have to improvise. And this goes for like illustrations, logo design, all of the fun stuff, because sometimes things don't really work the way you want them to in Illustrator or when you're vectorizing some sketches. So I think it's really important to have some like leeway for yourself and like just see and experiment how things work. All right, I'm just making these shapes over here, so make it in your own time. I think it's also kind of like rejuvenating almost to make these shapes because it's so fascinating. I'm pressing M on my keyboard, by the way, just so that I can make a rectangle using the rectangle tool and making the stem. So as I was saying, I think spring is time for change, time for cleanup. And I think that's one of the things that I really like about spring. And creating patterns is like so fun because you can experiment with it. You can see things that you didn't already. And that's really fun for me. Okay, I think this is a little bit wider than I thought intended it to be, but that is fine. That is fine. Let's see. Okay. All right, now I actually don't like this. I actually want to make this little sparkle here. So I'm going to press L on my keyboard to make a circle. Now you may be wondering, how is Anika going to make a sparkle with a circle? Well, select your circle, go to Effect, go to Distort and Transform, and then click on Pucker and Bloat. Now this is going to open up this panel here, which is the preview's turned on. And as I go to Pucker, it magically makes a sparkle, but it's puckering the shape that you have here. If I go to bloat, you can make a funky flower, which I think I should do for one of these designs, but I'm gonna leave it be at this color here, and then I'm gonna leave that here. All right, keeping track of time, we have 15 more minutes, so I think we should be good. And I'm gonna make this over here like a circle, And then again, maybe I'm gonna do some of these shapes really, really quickly. Let me press P on my keyboard and do this super quick. Holding L here. And then maybe I want to do this here. And since I have my grids and guides turned on, I can see where things are matching. But if you don't, you can go to view. You can go to um, smart guides. That's what I meant. You can go to view and turn on smart guides, which is helping me place the points at the same line. So I think smart guides really do help. All right, I'm gonna bring this here. And I think we should be good in about a few minutes here. I'm gonna make this shape again, and super cool. I think this branch looks cool, and maybe we'll make like a pattern out of this as well in the stream. So we'll see how that works. All right. And then I think we should also use like image trace really quickly. So we will do that. Okay. I'm doing this super rough right now just for the sake of time, but you can take your own time to make these illustrations. I feel like the one thing that's good about this is that I'm not like dwelling on the shapes, and I think that adds to the natural flavor of this. And I think I really admire the fact that I'm able to do that really quickly. I'm pressing Command C, Command F, by the way, and then transforming it using the Properties panel, bringing it in over here, selecting these two shapes, pressing Shift M on my keyboard, which is just the shape builder tool, and then adding it together. And that's like my ways, or was, whichever you prefer. All right, and there's only a few shapes left here, so let's do that quickly, and then we're gonna go to image trace and see how that works for us. I'll show you some of the options that you have, because your sketches may look different, and this is just one project, right? So your sketches may look different than mine, and I think it's important to know the various ways that you can actually vectorize your sketches. Sometimes maybe you like already had something that was brilliant and you just wanted like a variation of that. In Illustrator, I've had those times when I created something in Adobe Fresco and I just wanted to see how that looked in vectors. All right. And maybe now that we are here, maybe I'll show you how I use the curvature pen tool, which is like right over here. You can actually add points here and add like some dimension, which I really like. I'm gonna do that to some of these here just so that the stems are like extended. I really love how you can do that here. Super easy. Click and drag. So click on this and drag it out. Super easy. Don't even have to think about it. Maybe I can do it with this guy here too. And that just gives it that natural shape, right? I love that. Okay. And all right, let's dive into this super quickly. I'm gonna make this cool. And okay, so I'm just gonna make use of the direct selection tool here so I can do this really quick. All right, A on the keyboard, and then you can drag your cursor over the points that you want to use and just like make them like this one. That was cool. That was cool. Okay, I feel like there are 2 points here, so I'm gonna press P. That was not the case. But no worries, we can press the direct selection and then extend this point here. And that's it. And then press L on the keyboard. Maybe make this white. And then maybe we want to bring in color now. So here are all the colors that I made, all the color palettes that I had. But let's create, let's bring in the sketch over here at the bottom. And then maybe we want to use image trace. So where's image trace? Image trace sits here at the top. Click on image trace and it says, this is a large image. I can size it down. Maybe let's do that. Actually, let's keep it large because I want to compare it to the shapes that I made. Click OK, and it's already image tracing. Over here is the image trace panel where you can go ahead and change how your settings look like. There's an advanced section. There's like multiple sections here. High color, you can change it to like low color, grayscale, black and white, and even outline. Now, there are presets here that you can use. There's line art, which you can use as a preset, which actually works really well. I think I really love that. I do want to increase the threshold a little bit so it gets more points in the picture. And this is actually super cool. You didn't actually have to use the pen tool, but I wanted to add my personal touch to it. I can click on ignore color if it has any color. In this case, it doesn't, so it's just going to stay as is. You can increase the noise and the corners that you have and decrease the paths that you have. So look carefully. Here I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to show you, and I'm going to decrease the number of pods that we have, and let's see how that changes some of these illustrations. I feel like some of these have like jagged points, and that's why I actually wanted to use the pen tool, because I wanted to see how that would look. Now, what if I didn't? Like, this is custom because I'm messing around with the settings of the black and white or the line art that I chose. But now I can click on expand, and all of these are actually shapes. This is all vectors. I can click on, this is my panel here. I can click on ungroup, and this is actually a shape in itself. And I can change it, press Shift X, I can change it to a fill, and all of this still works for me, right? So multiple ways to convert your sketches into vectors. I just feel that this is such an easy way to like get around with things, and like I love that I'm just like color picking here, and I can just go ahead and like make these my own. I love that. Okay, I'm just using my eyedropper tool here, which is I on the keyboard or here in the panel. Click on the color that you want. Like I need green, and then press Option if you're working on a Mac, press Alt if you're working on a Windows device, and then bring this color in. And that's how you get the colors. I feel like that's like such an underrated thing. Like more people should talk about colors. All right, bringing these colors in. I feel like this is coming together really nicely. I am gonna bring these here. I'm just trying to add some color before we move on to the next step, because I feel like the clock is ticking, my friends. The clock is ticking. So we're just gonna do what we're good at, which is making things work. All right, and then I'm gonna press Shift and Option here because actually no, I'm gonna press this shape because this was a stroke, and then I'm press Shift on my keyboard to only select the color. Actually, to only select the color, and that's gonna make that shape here. And then over here as well, you are on the stroke here. Press I on your keyboard and press Shift while you're color picking. Click, and that's only gonna add the stroke and not the fill here. So that's cool. All right. I think we are good here. I'm gonna bring these to top, and I think I want this color here. Maybe I want this to be yellow. Yeah, I think that looks cool. And then we can just like bring this shape down here, rotate it, and then turn it around. So go to properties, transform, and then maybe like rotate it again. Yeah, that looks cool. And then maybe make it bigger. All right, this is coming together. I do actually love that. Maybe I want this color here, and then let's make one of these shapes as well. Let's go to M, make this shape here. You can make this leaf like multiple ways. I feel like that's one of the ways that I make the leaves, but there is like a very cool way to make a symmetric leaf as well that I actually want to show you. So if you press M on your keyboard and make like a square here, I will take these 2 points with the direct selection and just bring it in, and that's like a really cool leaf shape. I think that is super cool, and you can just like use that. That is one way if you wanted like a symmetrical kind of thing, but I think it's fine. I think it's all right to not have things be symmetrical sometimes, right? And then I'm gonna press this on my keyboard, press Command J to like make these points here. Maybe I want like circles in here, so we'll see. Let's bring it together. And maybe I want this to be like yellow. Ooh, that color looks so good. I love it. Pressing Command D to make copies. Now this is actually like slightly bigger, so I bring it down, and that actually looks brilliant. And I can either go to the Pathfinder to like create a compound shape, which let's do it in this case, and that looks good. That actually looks brilliant. And now we're only left with like 2 shapes, but maybe for the sake of time, I want to bring it here like so, and maybe make it like this color. Maybe size it down just like a little bit here. And then we're only left with 2 shapes and 5 more minutes. So we can actually get started here really quickly. So let me make this like slightly easier for your eyes, so not too much red. And then I'm going to press Command C, Command F, and then size it down. Press this color, and then maybe I want to like actually, you know what, let's cut this point. Press A on your keyboard, and let's make a semicircle and then make it like smaller. Okay, so let's make it here. Select these 2 shapes, press Shift M, which is the shape builder, and this time press Option or Alt on your keyboard. This is gonna delete one of the points here, and that's just gonna make the shape. I'm gonna use the curvature pen tool here just to like make it slightly like uniform. And the last flower, we're almost done here, so I'm excited. Okay, let's get this done. I'm determined. I'm determined. All right. Almost there. We're hitting the home run here. Any fans in chat? All right, almost done over here. And I'm gonna bring this guy here, bring it to top, and then bring white. All right, I think that looks super cool. I'm gonna use my artboard tool just to bring it here so that we have like some clarity. Any hidden objects will not be changed, but I just might got this color. This I think is a little messed up, so I'm gonna change that to stroke again, and this is what we have now. The things that I want to show you is generative recolor, which I think is super cool. Let's talk about how you can use it. So select all the shapes here, and in this contextual taskbar you see recolor. Click on recolor, and this is where the generative recolor panel comes in. Click on generative recolor, and you have sample prompts here that you can scroll to and see if you like anything. Let's actually go with salmon sushi and see what it generates for us, just to see what works and if it works for our color palette. I think we could use like a summer kind of vibe that would. Ooh, these are generating. I actually love this. This is so like pastel-y. Let's actually generate more and see how that looks. And we can make like as many variations as we want with generative recolor, and this kind of like gives you a perspective where you never thought that you would use these colors. This is a nice monotone green, and you never thought you'd use these colors in your color palette, and you still do because it generated it for you. This is actually so cool. It has like the warmth of things, and I love this one. So let's actually stick to this one. We started with this. I'm gonna turn off my sketch layer here. We started with this. Let me started with this color palette, and now we're here. And I think I want to generate like a couple more. So why don't we create a new artboard here, and then I'm gonna make 2 more here. So let's generate like a few more here. Maybe like experiment with how you think things look like. So maybe I say summer, island, pastel. I don't know. Let's do that and click on generate and see what comes up. I think this is gonna look really nice, and we'll end with like using repeat grids to make patterns, which is gonna be super cool. All right, this is not what I expected, but we'll see how that goes. Sometimes you have to like make some more iterations for having the perfect values that you wanted. I think these colors go well together, but it's just not the vibe I was going for. Maybe I need to work on my, let's say bubblegum forest. I don't know what that's gonna generate, but in my brain it's like greens and pinks, and I think that might be fun, but we'll see what that generates. So I think the moral of the story here is just have fun with it. While you're using generative recolor, I think it's really important to like just have fun. Wow, that is brilliant. That is something that I had in my brain, and that actually looks perfect. I don't know why this is a different color. Oh, maybe because I didn't change the color of that from gray. That's probably why, and that makes sense. I didn't actually change the color from gray, so yeah, that makes sense. It's still gray over here. So that's why I was like, oh, this color does not exist in this color palette that you have. So let me just give it some random color. And I think that looks cool. I think I want to make, let's actually delete these because I want to make a pattern of this. So let us copy some of these shapes here. Maybe I want to use this color palette over here. Let's bring it here. And then I'm going to press Command G on my keyboard, which is just grouping these elements. And maybe I want to size it down just to like fit it on my screen here. Now, there are various ways to make patterns, and this was not in our plan for today, but just as a bonus content, I feel like maybe we should do something like that. So have your object selected here, go to object, go to repeat, and go to grid. I think you can also do pattern if you wanted to make a pattern for like adding it to your packaging or something, but I think I just want to experiment with how this is going to look like, maybe on a wallpaper or something, and just to get a visual of how that's going to look, I prefer going to repeat and creating a repeat grid. That looks awesome. I think this is a great start of like seeing how it would look on packaging design, or maybe even like a box. And I think the key thing about patterns is knowing that it's a pattern, but it's still not a pattern. You know what I mean? Like right now you can see variations and like see where the things are repeating. Like this ways is like super evident. But the good thing about repeat grids is that you have repeat options. This is where you can change the spacing, the grid type, flip rows or flip columns. Let's go ahead with changing the grid type here. That maybe changes it a little bit. Brick by row, maybe brick by column. I think I prefer brick by column a little bit. And then you can flip row. That does change things a little bit, but let's flip column and see. Ooh, I actually like flip row, so let's keep that. And then you can flip column like so. That really does help in seeing that it's not a pattern, but let's do this. No, I think I prefer the first one. But that's pretty much it. I think I had a lot of fun today just vectorizing sketches. We worked from vectorizing sketches to illustrations. We talked about the pen tool. We talked about using image trace as an option. We talked about the curvature pen tool and then worked on generative recolor. Thank you so much for joining me today for this second day of our weekly Illustrator Creative Challenge. Come back next week. And if you want the starter file again, it is in the stream description. Go click on the link, sign up for our Illustrator Challenge. Please share your work in the Discord. I was looking at some of the work by Kevin and some of the other friends in chat, and I love to see everyone's logos. So thank you so much for joining me again today. I can't wait to see everything that you create with these sketches, or maybe even make your own sketches and then vectorize them using the techniques that I demonstrated today. Thank you so much for joining me. Come back next Tuesday for another Illustrator Weekly Creative Challenge. Same time, same place, and don't forget to subscribe. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.